This is a cartoon from one of the Chicago newspaper at the time because it was famous. Pullman, when the strike started, Pullman had scheduled a vacation on Long Island in New York, and he didn't change his plans. And he said he was too tired to continue meeting with the strikers' representatives, so he wouldn't even meet with them if they came to Long Island to see him. As far as he was concerned, there was nothing to discuss. Which further infuriated the workers. This quickly turned violent. The Pullman plant was set on fire. A lot of rail stock was destroyed. And President Grover Cleveland sent in the the army to suppress the strike. And naturally, lots of people were killed, and everyone was formally fired, but you could come back if you applied personally and promised that you would never belong to a union again. The leader of the strike, Eugene Debs, became a very famous person. Had been a railroad worker, was from Indiana, and became a union leader in the American Railroad Union. And the federal government indicted him for a number of causes, and he was sent to prison for a couple of years for having led the strike. And again, on the theory that if someone advocated something like a strike and violence occurred as a result of it, the person who did the advocacy was personally responsible for any and all of the violence. In prison, he became a socialist. He was also a lay Christian minister, so he was an interesting example of the kind of Christian socialism that existed in this country at the time. And then he became one of the founders of the Socialist Party, and he was the perennial candidate of the Socialist Party for president, running in 1904, 8, 12, I don't think 1916, but 1920. The party was able to elect members in Congress, elect mayors, and so forth. And Debs himself actually was quite a successful vote getter, probably the most successful of the third-party candidates in this country's history. So the political path came out of this, but the industrial trade union strategy was one of the victims of the failure of the strike. What the AFL learned was that craft unionism really was the best way to go. You could calibrate how you handled your relationships with employers. You were less likely to get into a situation where the President of the United States would send in the military to end your strike. Yeah?
When you say craft union, do you mean the type of they consolidated one form of union per business?
No, that's industrial unionism. Craft union is... Yeah, one union for the carpenters, the second union for the plumbers, the third union for the electricians, fourth union for the steel workers, fifth union for the elevator construction workers. So you break everything broken down to the union represented anybody who had a particular trade skill. And the union, part of its strength was it opened training programs, and it would validate whether someone was ready to go to work as a carpenter or a machine worker. The craft unions got a reputation for being conservative, but in fact that's a stereotype. Many of the craft unions were quite radical. In fact, the most radical unions in the United States at this time were craft unions. for a variety of reasons. So I think we'll end it there for today. On Monday and next week, we're going to talk about the formation of a racial ideology and the imposition of a system of apartheid, what is essentially apartheid in the United States.